Hello, if you're out there watching, happen to be catching live stream. Sorry we were late. Technical difficulties as they happen, especially when it's been a while. It's been a while since I fired up Minecraft on all the computers, and so then they all had to be re-logged in, which I needed my phone for, which I'd already set up as the nice background camera version view for the live stream. But so pull that off and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So
I got to get that camera app. That one sounds cool.
yeah, it works like Charm. So Camo Studio is the one.
Yeah.
And I think it's 20. It was either there's $25 that started and now it's 35, or it was 15 and it's 25. I forget. But either way, there's lots of them out there. This one, I think something about it, the developers of this app are they developed before this, it was an unarchiver app or something was their big featured app. And now they branched out into this. And it feels like whatever they did with unarchiver stuff, they learned the polish of the boring stuff on a Mac, of developing for a Mac, and now they've got a fancy GUI and UI and stuff to be able to play with, and they're having fun with that, but doing it really well, I think, in my experience anyway so far. So that's the other camera. If you're watching, there's where is it here? iPhone. I've got it on the wide camera angle, but you can actually, with the software, you can set up which camera angle you want, which camera lens you want to use on the phone. And I think actually I could I need to go grab one of my kids' other iPhones. I could have two iPhones on either side. So if I need to show my left side of my face for some reason,
Get 10 of them set up and do the Matrix effects.
Totally. That's, if you're not streaming with 10 cameras, I don't know why you're even bothering.
Yeah,
really,
I mean,
it's 2020. Come on, folks.
Are you even a professional? Come on now.
As I say that, and our stream crashes and everything goes down in flames. But okay, this is episode 19, right? That is right?
Yes.
I'm on the right one? Okay. And I was wondering if we should, I haven't talked to Kyle, our artist in residence, but I was wondering if we just changed the 25 cents to Welcome to 25 Cents, a video game podcast. Do we officially?
Probably, yeah. Because you're not going to be back on Arcade until maybe an Apple TV, right?
Although, I mean, we can get into that, I guess, because I could see myself flipping back for a month, go on and go off, maybe. But we can get into that with the, Kyle just commented and said done. He's already updated the artwork. Thanks, Kyle.
Just delete layer, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we'll leave it for now, maybe, and we'll just, what do I say? Welcome to 25 Cents, a video. You already deleted it, or I did? Whatever. Let's just say a video game podcast. That still encompasses Apple Arcade.
In the text.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's already ready. Could you just make the logo bigger, Kyle? Other than that, it's good. All right. I think we're ready to go. Let's get this show on the road. See if we can figure out how to do this without breaking things and doing it on time. You're going to get kicked out in 30 minutes or so?
I've got a meeting.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I don't have to start music first. That's how out of sorts I am. All right. Hello, welcome to 25 Cents, a video game podcast. I'm Chris.
And I'm Nick. Each episode we'll be talking about games we've tried, other games we keep going back to, and what we think might be great ones to check out if you've got kids.
You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts, of course, or on the web at Goodstuff.fm. Hey Nick, welcome back to the show.
Hello.
It has been
a while.
A minute, yeah, a hot minute or two.
I think work schedules and travel. You went camping.
Yes.
I did a staycation. Kind of got off the wagon a little bit there, and now we're gonna try to get back into our routine of recording a little bit.
Which routine is that?
I don't know. I mean, was it sort of every other week? It doesn't really matter. We're having fun. That's what matters.
Exactly. I marvel, and I have full respect for podcasters who are able to just, especially when it involves other people, that they're able to consistently do it every week. And obviously when it's your full-time job too, that makes it a little easier if that's the case. But even there's lots of podcasters out there I know who are consistent week after week, even though they have kids, even though they have a full-time job, even though they have a million other things, somehow they manage to do it. And I am the weak link in our podcasting chain at Good Stuff. That's for sure.
No, no. I mean, you have a real, a different kind of real podcasting job, right?
Right. That's what
You
I've
got to
been
keep
telling
the
people. I
editing
only listen to
flowing.
podcasts if people pay me. So I guess I need someone to pay me to do this podcast is what I'm saying. But I don't think we're quite there yet.
No, need to juice those numbers a little bit.
Yeah, juice.
So, so I think last week during my staycation, my son and I did a tent camp out in the middle of the living room. But I think you had a more interesting outdoor adventure, right?
Yeah, we were tent trailering, not tenting, but tent trailering, and so definitely it's in Canada, we're not far north. I mean, we're more north than you, where you are, obviously, but there's still a lot more north to go from where I am. And even when we head 2 hours north, there's still a lot more north to go. But that being said, when it gets down to 8-10 degrees Celsius at night in a tent trailer, and for the first few days, we hadn't figured out if the furnace was working to heat the camper, and so it was a little chilly at night, I'd have to say. And but we made do, and then yeah, one day I finally got up there. I'm always nervous with like natural gas in an enclosed space for some reason. I don't know. I'm weird that way. Propane, running while you're sleeping, stuff.
Yeah,
And
yeah. You read
especially
enough horror stories, yeah.
yeah, like a 30-year-old camper, and like who knows what the lines are like. So anyways, finally last night we were like, no, let's fire this up and try it. And it worked. And it was like, oh, we could have been having nice warm sleeps all week, but that's, I guess, the stuff of character building. So, but yeah.
Yeah, I just had to realize I can't sleep like right on a thin pad on a floor anymore. But it was fun.
Yeah.
We haven't actually really used that tent outside yet, but maybe
Yeah.
when he's a little older.
Yeah, definitely. It's our kids actually slept in the tent in our backyard a couple nights this summer, on warmer nights, obviously, and by themselves even. And so it was always kind of an adventure. Our window was right next to where the tent was, so we could hear what's going on or whatever. But they were always managed to sleep and not get eaten alive by mosquitoes and things. And so yeah, it's something to look forward to as they get a little older for sure. So in speaking of kids, I guess in Kids Corner, I think let's just skip over Quarantine Corner. I'm COVID. COVID is still going on, obviously. It's
Yeah,
still a thing.
there's not much to say other than school is, I guess, happening and it's going to be weird.
Yeah. I'm going to be living in terror and or anxiety for the next 3 months here as we share the germ pool with 30 other children across our 3 kids. So I guess probably 90 kids. And so it's going to be interesting, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. Kids got to learn, I guess.
Hmm.
But the our kids actually haven't. We decided not to bring the Switch along on the trips, any of the trips. We did a camping trip and we did a cabin trip and all the things. And we decided not to bring it along at all. So we kind of went screen free, other than bringing an old iPhone along to listen to podcasts and things. So my kids are now like devouring this week. They've dove headlong into Fortnite and Minecraft, as I said at the beginning. But
Hmm.
what kind of games have you been camping with?
Yeah, so I think we haven't played quite as many games. We kind of keep, Just Dance's in the rotation on Switch, and I think lately the new Apple Arcade releases there haven't been as many that are kid appropriate, to play together. Um, Although he and I were playing Evoland 2 on listener Jay's recommendation. So we've been slowly working our way through that, and that's been fun. And we played a little more. We went back to was it Game Dev Tycoon, I think?
Oh yeah.
Because right now my son's very interested in sort of the idea of making games, game design. He's been fiddling around with Scratch programming again, so he's kind
Oh,
of
interesting.
that's where we are. Um, I think one thing we've run into a few weeks ago was, he was like browsing the App Store, and it was late enough in the day, and he saw an app icon for, I guess, like the game Five Nights at Freddy's, which I don't really know anything about, but there's like a scary murderous teddy bear or something in the app icon, and he ended up having a bad dream
Oh
about
no.
that, which is interesting because like we've got it fairly locked down, but you still see some of the previews when you're in the App Store
Yeah.
scrolling, so we might have to make some adjustments there.
Well,
I mean,
and
when you're 6, you never know what images stick with you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's definitely fair. And like for the here, I'm just going to zoom into the current application, but it's definitely like a freaky looking bear for anybody watching on the stream. It it's yeah, not like a cuddly bear, that's for sure. So I can understand that. So yeah, and it is interesting how you never know what kids are what's going to set them off in that, like the dream
Hmm.
nightmare or whatever kind of stuff, because it can be the most. We've watched some insane like fantasy dragon whatever thing, but then actually for our oldest it was like Captain America. I forget which one, but like the first or second one, the like just the gun battle when he I think when Nick Fury dies, or sorry, I guess that maybe is a spoiler. Almost dies. Maybe he dies. Who knows? But I'm assuming it's okay to spoil Captain America at this point. But anyways, the gun battle, and that was like the thing that like gave him nightmares for 2 nights or whatever
Right.
after the
It was
fact.
just too intense.
Yeah, yeah, the reality of it all, and whereas we were like, oh well, it's obviously fake guns, and use whatever, but yeah, you never know what kind of little thing is going to get stuck in their brain and run with. So, how about switch corner? Let's
Yeah.
bump it into switch corner.
Switching.
Switch into switch corner.
Switch. Yeah. 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 So, like I said, we've been playing a bit of Just Dance. So that's kind of like when we're both kind of feeling like we've been sitting in front of a screen too long, kind of thing. Um, uh, that's basically been it on Switch. Every once in a while we do Mario Kart. I think lately we've been busier with the new puppy, so we haven't maybe sat down
Oh
and
yeah,
done quite as much game time. And he's been more interested in some of his screen time, like I said, being kind of uh, uh, making music or doing more like sort of programmy things on the family iPad than full gameplay.
yeah,
But it looks like there's a lot of neat stuff coming for Switch that's definitely on my mind. They just had their Indie World showcase this past week that had a bunch of stuff, including some Apple Arcade games now being available on Switch, which I think we've mentioned before, but I saw Manifold Garden got highlighted. So it's interesting, seeing some of these developers. They're obviously working in engines that port really easily, but they decide to go Apple Arcade first, so they get the four platforms there, and presumably, some help from Apple. But then it's obviously not entirely exclusive because then they can eventually other platforms or maybe have other deals involved, which is interesting.
yeah.
Um, I think we mentioned, the Paper Mario game looks really interesting. I haven't tried it yet, but might put that one on like my birthday wish list.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, that one looks like a lot of fun. It's I've never played any of the Paper Mario games, but I think that to me looks like a fun one to sort of like. We didn't pick up any of the actual Mario games for our Switch because we'd played them on I think the what did we have before, GameCube maybe, or whatever it was. I forget which one we had before,
mhm.
but and they so they were excited about it, but not like enough to spend $80 on the game. And so we tried actually Luigi's Mansion. We rented that for a little bit, and that one, Luigi's Mansion 3, I guess technically, but that one was actually fairly fun. I spent an evening with that one. The kids did it a bit, but they would also it's stinking Fortnite, when it has some event always that's
Yeah,
going on, and like you can't give
that's the
up.
priority.
Yeah, it's because it's urgent. There's Paper Mario or any other video game basically is like always be there, but there's always something new happening in Fortnite that they've heard about, and so they have to try it. Not the least of which is the stupid Marvel tie. Not stupid. Like I think it's cool Marvel tie into Fortnite, but again, it's just like this big. Of course, we have to pay attention to Fortnite thing now. So, but yeah, Paper Mario looks like it actually would be a lot of fun. I remember seeing it like back for whatever platform it first came out on. I thought, that's not going to be that. That doesn't look. It didn't appeal to me, I guess. But maybe something now about understanding the graphics and the visuals and the gameplay and just wanting a good Mario game. I think too to sort of dive into
Yeah,
is the bigger
yeah.
one.
I haven't played any of the previous ones, and it looks like it has some elements. I know I played Super Mario RPG, which
Mm,
was the Square collaboration with the Mario license way back on Super Nintendo.
yeah,
And it looks like it has elements of that, so that would be fun. And I just saw the trailer for what Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. So
yeah,
I think it's mostly new content, but kind of covering all nine movies in one coherent story is coming out next spring on many platforms, including Switch. And that one might be pretty tempting because I've played the Lego games over the years on a number of different platforms. And those are usually pretty fun, especially with kids.
yeah. And especially if they've updated some of the earlier games or done fix bugs and puzzles that were kind of awkward or whatever. I remember when we played them way back when they first came out, some of the first few episodes that they did, there's a few. It was frustrating, I guess, for the kids to play because you get stuck in a level, and it was obvious it wasn't just like they couldn't figure out the puzzle. It was like some mechanics in the game made it really awkward to do.
Yeah. I,
Um,
I think they're more cinematic now too. So
mhm.
like the older ones, it was pretty much like, all right, here's this level. You need this guy to like jump the gaps or whatever, or knock over the special bricks, and then you can build things to get to the next section every once in a while. But this one seems to have more big stuff compared to when I think I played the original trilogy version years ago, or some of the
Yeah,
old Indiana Jones ones.
yeah, those were the
Uh,
ones. Yeah, they were a little rough around the edges, I guess. And so,
mhm.
yeah, it'll be fun to
But still
fun.
fun.
I know my oldest too is like, even though he's played most of those, he's watched all the movies. There's something about the Lego version that's like fun to play, and he's actually like tempted to save his money and use that to buy the Lego Star Wars. And whether I don't know, I'm always torn because like the Switch is a fun mobile platform. The Xbox that we have is like easily configured and set up to go with 4 controllers, and so I guess it's the gluttony of choice. But like, which platform do you buy it for? I'd kind of like to do it on the Switch just because then it's portable. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see where it lands. I guess if we end up doing anything at all. But it's a fun game.
Yeah. And then, so in Apple Arcade, like I said a bit ago, there have been a number of new releases. I haven't tried all of them. I've tried a few. So one was Decoherence, which is this sort of like tactical arena robot turret battle game. I had actually played a demo of it at the PAX West, I think 2018 Indie Mega Booth here in Seattle. So the developer had an early version, and it seemed okay. My son and I tried it briefly because it had a multiplayer mode, and he loves robots.
Hmm.
But it's definitely just the difficulty level is too high for him in terms of the actual tactics gameplay. And I kind of had the same feeling again. This just isn't really the game for me. It's like, not the kind of core loop that I really enjoy in terms of, building the right team of little robots and sending them against each other and beating the level. And we
Is
also
it
had some weird issues getting
is that one real
multiplayer
time?
set up.
Sorry, I just is that one real time or is it
Yeah,
like turn
it's
based?
real time.
Right.
So like sort of at the beginning of every round, you decide the makeup of your team and you place your team members, which are different types. There might be like a stationary turret or a really fast moving flying robot or like a heavy tank type robot, and you place them on the board, and then you can try to kind of control them in different strategies. And you have a hero character that can hop in some of the robots for different power ups, and you can like knock out their base or destroy all their robots, or it's kind of a mix of approaches you can take. So if you're really into that kind of tactical simulation, it's pretty good. It definitely to me feels like a more of a PC style game, like real time strategy ish, that doesn't quite fit the platform. I mean, it's definitely optimized for mobile,
Right.
but yeah, it just not for me, I think. But if that's the kind of thing you like, it could be pretty fun. It looked like there were a lot of levels and game modes. Like I said, we tried multiplayer, but we had some weird issues where like I hadn't completed the tutorial yet on my install of the app, and so then it just crashed instead of connecting and didn't tell us why, and so some little weird rough edges there. And as with other arcade games, the multiplayer setup is kind of weird, right? Like you have to send an iMessage with the Game Center invite link. Like it's just not it's not quite there. Like it
Yeah.
it seems like there should be a little matchmaking Game Center menu like on other platforms, and it's just not there.
Yeah,
Um,
that's definitely the frustration I think of the iOS App Store, Apple Arcade even thing. It feels like this should be really easy, and it isn't, and
yep.
or isn't as easy as it should be, anyways. And so,
I
yeah,
I know it's one of our refrains.
yeah,
Uh, let's see. One of the other ones I tried recently was Beyond a Steel Sky, which is this kind of a high-end RPG. I guess it's based on an old game that I was not previously familiar with, um, that came out years ago, like an old style RPG, and it's kind of related to like 2000 AD and involves one of the artists of that old kind of post-apocalyptic sci-fi British series that like Judge Dredd came out
Oh
of.
yeah.
Um, and then you have the core mechanic is you're like walking around in this world and having conversations with the different characters, and there's kind of a Mass Effect style dialogue dial, that you choose your different options that to try and unlock things. Um, I didn't get very far. It seems like it'd be interesting, but it's also one of those games where it's not a pick up and play. You definitely need to be like, okay, I'm gonna go, experience this story for an hour or two, or more. So I could see maybe eventually finishing it. It's got some sci-fi elements I like. Unfortunately, definitely not appropriate to play with my kid, even though he would be kind of interested in the sort of futuristic setting. Content wise, it's not for an almost 7-year-old, I would say.
Right. Yeah. Which is always tough, obviously, to sure. Like you can see the appeal, and I know I've erred sometimes on the side. Not that I've let my kids play like Grand Theft Auto, but like there's games like where you're like, oh, they so like it'd be so fun to play the running around in this open world game style thing, but obviously without all the murder, you know,
Yeah.
would be a little problematic to say the least. And so, sometimes I know I've again not don't throw me under the bus for playing Grand Theft Auto with my kid, but I definitely have played games I can't think of right now that were like, okay, this is probably not as good as I thought it would be for whatever age I was
Yeah,
at.
there have been a few even, where it's like in that the kind of the difference between like E for everyone and like the E10 ESRB rating is like like we were saying about, movies that end up being scary. It's like some stuff is just like, nope, we just got to stop playing. This is obviously too much.
Yeah.
Um, but so the one more story-oriented game that I have been putting more time into is this Game of Thrones Tale of Crows, which is very much a mobile game. It's a little drop-in, choose-your-own-adventure type thing where you get a little snippet of story every, anywhere from a couple minutes to a couple of hours, depending on where you are in the story. It's kind of like what was that? Was it Lifeline? Was that early Apple Watch game that came out where you were like talking to an astronaut on your wrist? I don't know if you
No, yeah,
remember
I did never play it.
the hype around that
Yeah.
one. Yeah. So similar idea, every once in a while you make a decision. Um, what surprises me is so this is under like HBO's license to
Yeah.
make games set in Game of Thrones, so that they use the Game of Thrones branding, not a Song of Ice and Fire branding. So it seems to be oriented to TV show, but it's all set in the sort of the distant past of the Night Watch. And it's all just about the Night Watch on the
Oh
wall.
yeah.
And there's kind of two main mechanics. You can send out ranging missions, and they'll go north of the wall and interact with different characters, or groups of characters that you might remember from the books, like the wildlings and um, the dead and so forth. Um, or you're the Lord Commander sitting at Castle Black, kind of making decisions about how to manage the watch. And you can play through multiple times because each chapter has like 3 or 4 possible outcomes depending on which decisions you make. So you can go back and try to get one of the other ones. It's interesting. I really like the graphic style. It feels like it could benefit from being able to like zoom in and kind of see more of the
Mm.
detail. Um, it seems really odd that this game came out now, over a year after the show ended, because that was what was really driving the interest. Um, but yeah, I mean, I liked it. I think you've been reading the books lately, right?
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. What could pull me back into just even doing Apple Arcade for a month subscription or whatever, and then canceling again is like a game like this where, especially because yeah, I'm reading the I always forget all the name. Dance with Dragons, I think is what I'm on. They kind of, especially once you watch I watched the TV series first. Now I'm reading the books, and they kind of all blur together because I can't remember which story is where in which season. But yeah, Dance with Dragons. So it's the last book that's out right now, I think. But
Yes.
yeah, it definitely, like, having watched the TV series and now reading the book, the TV series is great in its own way and has problematic endings for various people or whatever. But I really enjoyed the whole series. Now the book is like kind of reading that. It's a nice way to get like, sort of like a lot more color behind the stories that I watched in the video version. And so, anyways, I dove into the book because I was without books for a while and just quickly grabbed one because I thought I've always wanted to finish this. And now I'm like sucked into back into the Game of Thrones storyline in a big way. And so
Yeah.
when I saw this being,
Yeah, like I
go ahead.
oh, go ahead.
When I saw this game come out, the that was like, oh shoot, this, I think I want to play this. Even if it's kind of crap, kind of like, the old Star Wars games that came out for computer games or whatever. It wasn't a great game, but it was still Star Wars. It had the thing you got to sort of interact with the characters that you're reading or watching about and wanting to just have more of right now because you're kind of just hungry for more Star Wars. And I'm in that similar state of like, I just want to explore more of this universe. I don't want it to end. I know it's going to end and not very satisfying necessarily, but let's go back and
Right.
enjoy part of this. Mainly because nothing on the TV series, but like the books just aren't done yet. So I can't end the series even if I want to. And hopefully George R. R. Martin lives long enough to finish the books, I guess.
Yeah, if he wants to. Yeah, like I don't really see myself going back and rewatching any of the TV show, partly because of how it ended, but just partly also like I think the experience was watching it at the same time as like everyone was watching it, right?
Mm-hmm.
In some ways. I'm not sure it has the same kind of where it seems like right now, like everyone I know seems to be going back and like rewatching all of Parks and Rec or Star Trek or something during quarantine, right?
Yeah.
But what I liked about the game so far, and I haven't explored all of the branches, but I've played it through basically 2.5 times. Except the second time I tried, it seemed like I got stuck where no more story quests were coming, so I just restarted. Um, because there's the main story quest, but there's like just little repetitive little side things to keep you busy in between the big story quests. But what it reminded me, and I don't know if you found this in the story, is that like the some of the lore and the big stories of what's happening are that weren't part of the main story of the show or the books are kind of interesting. So like this is that kind of background flavor for the world that isn't tied to, maybe certain characters who are involved with the Night Watch that I didn't really like enjoy or find as compelling as some of the supporting characters.
Mm-hmm.
So this is basically it's all just background characters. Yeah, it's been fun. It would definitely be one worth, I think, especially if you're interested, like you said, in the book series to play through at least once and kind of explore. There's there's an interesting twist in one of the main stories that I won't go into, but like it really kind of reframes a lot of the lore around this part of the fictional world that is really interesting. So I definitely would would recommend at least getting to that part and seeing how that sits with you.
Yeah, and you wonder how much of it is like, obviously taking it out of the time, like, right? It's pre, you said, sort of like a prequel almost, but like familiar,
Yeah, it,
bigger.
it goes all the way back before like it starts with like the First Men era
Oh, okay,
and
yeah.
goes forward and ends basically right before the storyline of the
Oh,
show.
okay, yeah. So that's where, it would be interesting to have that, and how much of that is actually canon versus like, that's always the debate in Star Wars. Obviously, is like, which
Right.
this obscure book over here reference some weird thing. Does that count now as part of the Star Wars canon? And so similarly here with HBO, well, sorry, Game of Thrones series, I guess probably doesn't have quite the same, media empire that Star Wars does in the history yet, but potentially could. But yeah, you could see us in 10 years
Yeah.
referencing. Remember that game, Apple Arcade, where
Yeah. Yeah.
Jon Snow did, or I guess not yet, but like, yeah. Anyways,
Yeah.
but yeah, totally. That's where like it's fun to just be able to have a bit of more play in that world, and does make. I know there's been other like, is it Telltale or Turntail? I forget. They have like some of their
Mhm.
like the Batman series, and they had a Game of Thrones game as well that I think was tied to the show more than the books as well, probably, if I'm not mistaken. Kind
Yes,
of
it was tied to the show, and I played a bit of it, and it depicted kind of a side story that was going on in the background during like season 3 or 4, roughly,
right.
if I remember right.
Yeah, because it's the whole world that George R. R. Martin made is definitely rife with like side stories, and there's so much stuff you could, even like I said, watching from the show to the book. There's so much obviously that is filled in and longer, way longer than I was depicted in the show, and even just stuff that just was completely skipped over, obviously, just in this interest of time and what makes for good
Hmm.
TV versus what makes for a good story. But and even just characters' emotions and stuff that you feel. Not that this is a book review podcast at all, but I've really enjoyed actually going back through that. And so that, yeah, something like this is where I could see, and that's maybe where they had planned. Like obviously, the game developers weren't like, hoping that Game of Thrones, the series, ends on a sour note for a lot of people, and then maybe they delayed the game just because it was like, let's not put it out right now. Where there's a whole bunch of negative sentiment about the game or about the TV series. Let's wait a little while, and we'll it'll be a fresh relook at Game of Thrones, and people won't necessarily associate us with how everything ended.
Yeah, I will say it is interesting to see, because I feel like I mostly associate Apple Arcade with sort of these more artful, so-called indie type games, or at least small studio games. But then they have this sort of recurring set of big licenses, right? Like they've got this HBO Game of Thrones one. There've been a couple different Nickelodeon games. Like I said, I tried that one SpongeBob one, and I saw there's a Samurai Jack one. So it's interesting to see that
Sit
Apple
with me,
is obviously
stranger,
seeking a
and I
mix
will tell
of
you of the night's
familiar
watch.
properties and novel kind of one-offs.
Yeah, when looking at the sorry, I just started playing the video. I don't know if you heard that, but the stream would have heard it. But visually, it's an interesting graphic style. It doesn't look amazing as far as compared to the other. It's a certain style, like that isometric, I guess, and sort of.
And like kind of cell shaded.
Yeah.
If you look at the colors and stuff.
Yeah. So it's not like, it doesn't feel vibrant and intense like I would have thought Game of Thrones would be. Like the series certainly has a lot of a very stark, no pun intended, color contrasts and stuff. And so
Yeah.
this is an interesting choice visually to go with, but it almost compels me more to want to see it because it's like, okay, well, that doesn't look like how I think it looks. So maybe the game is actually going to be really interesting because of how it plays. So, all right, I'm talking myself back into a subscription. The longer we talk, I better stop.
Well, so maybe I think I know. There's a lot of rumors about what's going to be announced all in terms of hardware and maybe accessories and maybe new sorts of subscription models. Are those the sort of things that would probably bring you back to Apple Arcade or no?
I think the biggest one is the Apple TV, and that's like ultimately that would be because that's again I find myself I don't want to sit on the couch with my phone, or I don't have an iPad that's worthy of playing the Apple TV, and so if I could hook up the Xbox controllers I already have to the Apple TV every now and then and play one of these cool games right on, like sitting on my couch and on the big TV that I already own, that to me is where the deal breaker is right now, and how I could justify the whatever it is, $5 a month every so often. Like I think it's nice how it's a subscription based thing, and I could cancel in the summer when I know we're not going to play and not feel like I'm missing out, and I don't have to do the annual subscription if I don't want to and things like that. But yeah, I was at our cabin this weekend, the family cabin, which has the Apple TV 4K at it. And every time I come home, I think, oh yeah, I want to buy one of those because that was fun. It was neat. It was easy to, we loaded up, we watched Thor Ragnarok, and we own that already on Apple, whatever it's called, Apple TV Library Music Movie thing. And
yeah, they keep changing the name.
Yeah.
I think it's still iTunes, maybe.
Yeah. So, and then like seeing the arcade and stuff that's there, and I didn't tie into it because the internet was just really slow, so I didn't even bother. But yeah, it would be nice to do that. But then I come home and think, no, wait, it has to be like imminent that a new Apple TV is coming. I'm not going to be the one who finally buys it and then kicks the sales number over enough. They're like, okay, Tim is like watching. He's like, okay, we've got 399,000. Yep. We just need one more, and then we're going to announce the new one. And I don't want to be that guy. So someone else buy more. Clear out the inventory.
Yeah. So, any other games that I know you've mentioned kind of Animal Crossing, getting back into Fortnite, obviously being popular with the kids. Anything else that we've missed that we've been playing in this gap?
No, like definitely on the phone, nothing Apple Arcade related, but you and I know both have been playing Good Sudoku. Is that what it's called? I can't look at my phone right now, but yeah, Good Sudoku. I still haven't bought it. I'm tempted. It's like $5, so it's like a month of Apple Arcade, I guess. But like, I'm tempted because the ads are so horrendous in the game, and it take you right out of what you're doing. Like all of a sudden, it's just like a blast of like some weird zombie game or whatever that it's suggesting you buy. At least for me, anyways. And I always accidentally tap it and then end up in the App Store and trying to buy it, and then have to go back to the Sudoku and then end up watching have to watch the commercial or whatever. So I just can't. I'm at the tipping point for that one where I'm like, I don't think I'm going to play it anymore. But then I keep going back to it, so maybe I should just buy it. And then actually with Fortnite, despite all my disparaging remarks about the addictive qualities of Fortnite and with kids, but it's something that we've actually been doing lately as a family, except for my wife, because she's not too interested in Fortnite at all, but understandably. But I'll sit down and play, and they'll direct me. So it's like kind of like they're telling me what to do, where to go, and so it's kind of fun. I know they get a kick out of like telling me, "Oh, Dad, why did you grab that? Oh, no, don't do that," or whatever. Like, why are you going here? And like that kind of stuff, and like shouting at me while I'm trying to shoot somebody across the thing or whatever, and horribly missing. And then the occasional times where I manage to like snipe somebody from 6,000 feet away or whatever, and I'm the hero for a few moments anyways.
Yeah.
And so that's been actually a little bit of fun, especially just now with the excuse me, try that again, especially now with the Marvel tie-in that they've just recently announced. It's kind of just neat to see the Thor and Iron Man and stuff in the game, and the Quinjets, kind of like as when the Fortnite bus is dropping you over, the Quinjets, 4 of them, I think, if it's not Quinjets, maybe it's something else, but I forgot. Anyways, 4 of them kind of fly and escort you to the island and stuff, because there's the big Doomsday event is happening, and you're supposed to defend the island from this. You're kind of unifying with the Marvel characters against I forget, it's not Doctor Doom, but someone else is trying to, the Eater of Worlds guy.
Galactus.
Yes, that's the one. There you go. Is taking over and kind of like coming to eat the island or whatever. And so it's funny because in the bigger scheme of things, going back to Apple stuff, there's a big Apple epic, at the risk of repeating every other podcast I'm sure that's been going for the last 2 weeks, but in light of the big epic Apple sort of standoff over including Fortnite in the App Store because of its external buying ability, where you can buy V-Bucks outside of the App Store with a link from the game and then being removed from the App Store, knowing now that that Epic Games had this Marvel license tie-in lined up right to go as well, when they knew that there's a possibility that not only the App Store but actually the Mac entirely is excluded. So I can't, on my laptop, I can't actually play Fortnite with the Marvel tie-in. It won't update because that version isn't getting updated as well. I don't know, it just like escalates the whole thing even further, that somehow Marvel would have had to have been aware that this maybe was going on, potentially missing out on whatever, I don't know what who pays who there exactly. Like Epic probably has some sort of financial, sharing of skin purchases with Marvel, which sounds awful, but that tie-in like potentially is losing them $1 million, let's say, or whatever the number is. I don't know, some number, because of the standoff that they have with Apple. And yet they're still all willing to go ahead with it. So Marvel's kind of got lumped in with this fight with Apple and used it almost as ammunition as with Apple in the whole process. And so just fascinating to me. I'd love to hear the story after the fact here of how this all played out in the boardroom meetings and whatever that went on, and emails behind the scenes to figure this out.
I mean, it definitely feels like, especially having like the parody ad prepared that they did, as Epic obviously planned to do this. Like they knew they were going to get smacked down and they were ready for it. But it is interesting, like you said, that they decided that now was the right time, or that the risk worked out for them, or that the marketing around it would work to their advantage, even if they end up losing something in the ongoing lawsuit. I did see there was a whole concern over whether Epic's Unreal Engine would be allowed to be used by other games inside the App Store, and I guess that got temporarily resolved by like a judge, but that's still part of the ongoing discussion. So I mean, it's a huge thing. It's huge companies duking it out.
We're really
it's
concerned
kind of
about
silly on some level, but well, and like Lorene Powell is the largest individual stockholder in Disney, which owns Marvel, and one of the largest stockholders in Apple. Like weird stuff like that, and you just kind of wonder like what was all going on behind the scenes. At this level, I'm sure someone at Epic can get Tim on the phone, right?
Exactly.
Like if they wanted to.
Yeah.
And it feels like maybe they wanted the public fight.
Yeah. Yeah. And they have the like, we're doing it for the developers, for the small guys. We're doing it for you.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the small guys are like, could we just have like a couple $1,000s to finish our game? And like, no, we're going to have this fight. Let's fight. It's like,
yes.
No, we just want to make games. Please just let us make games and sell them and make some money.
Yeah.
Give us some of your Fortnite bucks. But anyway.
Yeah.
You have to run, I think, right?
Get paid in V-Bucks.
You have to run?
Yes, actually, I
So
do.
we'll wrap up
So
for
we
now. We can
should
save this for
wrap up and
the rest of this
yeah.
for the next episode, which we'll be doing again hopefully next week. Knock on whatever happens to be nearby. So what was I going to say? I don't have anything else to say, so I'll cut this part out. So thank you for watching and listening to 25 Cents, a video game podcast. You can find me on Twitter at iChris.
You can find me on Twitter and most everywhere else as Ultra Nerd. That's NURD.
And you can find 25 Cents, of course, wherever you listen to podcasts. Be sure to check out the Good Stuff Patreon, patreon.com/goodstuff to help support the old podcast network here. And we'll see you again next episode. Bye.
Bye.
All right, so I'll let you run. Thanks for
Yeah.
kicking this off and get us back in the saddle of this thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you send me your audio, we'll be good to go at some point today.
I will get that uploaded shortly.
Cool. Thanks for watching if you're out there. And I'm going to turn off the stream. See you later. Bye-bye.
Later, Chris. Good catching up.
Stream is over. I'm trying to find that button. There we go.
And I'm going to stop my